Hey there, so I did an MIM course 5 years ago and it quite literally changed my life. I went from working at a factory in India for 12,000 rupees a month to finding a job in Paris that paid me 44,000 euros a year, just in a span of 3 years. And here's the best part, most of this change was fun. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the MIM program and compare it to the MBA program in France. You'll also take away the MIM structure at EDHEC and what this course can do for you by the end of this video. There's a Q&A part at the end of this video from the comments in the previous video on this channel, so stick around until the end if you left a comment last week. Let's get the tech specs out of the way. The MIM program is designed for students without work ex. The average age at EDHEC is around 23 for this program. It is the best bet for students who want to make a change in their industry and get into the business world. Also, the MIM is much cheaper than the MBA program here in France, and you can imagine doing it without the sponsorship of a country. Just taking a loan and a couple of scholarships can help you do the MIM program. This opens the possibility of changing your geography radically because you don't have that dependence on Toyota, who sent you on a sponsorship and wants you to come back after 2 years, for example. Needless to say, the MIM is an introduction to business management for students who don't have prior experience in this field, and the MBA is to more enrich or propel a student who already has some kind of experience. So in the MIM, they are judging you on your aptitude and your all-roundedness, while in the MBA, they're looking at the richness of your experience. In fact, in the MIM, if you have a lot of work experience, that can actually harm your application. So if you're not having much experience, now is the best time to apply. All you need to do is get a couple of things out of the way, like the GMAT, like your profile, and then you're in. So back in India, it's not so strange for students to do an MBA straight after their bachelor's degree without experience. But here in France, to do an MBA, you need that experience. If you want to do an intermediary course and get working in the business world, then do an MIM degree. In my experience, there are 3 qualities that will serve you well in the school itself and in your job hunt. The first one is an optimistic outlook. If you're optimistic, your life is really, trust me when I say, if you're looking for a thing to complain, you have a list of them. The moment you move to school, move to another country, the moment you start hunting for a job, if you don't have this optimistic outlook, it's going to be really difficult. You need that guy. What's also attractive is a can-do attitude and a good command on language. French is definitely a bonus. I spoke about why so in my previous video in the series, but English is a no-brainer. You definitely need that. If you have these 3 skills and your current industry does not leverage it, then the MIM is the perfect bridge. For me, I was coming from a background of mechanical engineering and I did enjoy the advanced math and physics, just knowing what these things can do. But I spoke a bunch of Indian languages and I wanted to use that to my advantage. The business world could unlock that for me. So the MIM course at EDHEC is a 3-year thing. If you're looking for scholarships, you need to apply by this December and then you will get in next September. The deadline is next June, so you have time. The first year or the M1 year, you're introduced to a bunch of management fields. Think of this as a tasting session before you decide which one you like the most. Then there's a gap year where you do 2 internships, and then there's a final M2 year where you specialize in a certain field. The first year is really crucial because you'll get to meet people who have lived a completely different life, and that helps you benefit from their knowledge that you never had. My piece of advice would be to not judge the field by the nature of the exercises that you're doing. My conclusion of finance was it's just boring numbers and vertical lines, and that's not the entirety of what someone in finance does. If your professor is approachable, then talk to him or her about what one really does in this field, or reach out to people who just got out of your school, asking them what they like about their work. Do your research to find out what is the nature of the job in this field and what are the possibilities. A finance job in one company might be a little different from the finance job in another company. And if you're talking about IT, there's so much to pick from. Now you can skip the gap year if you have a really good reason to do so, but you're better off, in my opinion, sticking to the gap year, even if your age is a little above the average age and you want to get to the earning part really fast. Internships are not necessarily that well paid, but this is an important step. This is the last time you can screw up in the choice that you made in the industry. So take the time to breathe, take the time to feel what the industry is like and to do your research and see if you like working here or not. Just like the advice in the previous section, even in your internship year, don't judge the industry by what you do on a daily basis in the internship. You're not going to remain an intern for all your life. So look at what are the different kinds of roles that you could grow into in this industry or in this role. Talking to your manager can unlock this for you, and I've had the benefit of asking this question straight to my manager before I joined the internship. What kind of skills does it take for someone to succeed in this industry? What are the different kinds of jobs one can expect expect in this industry. And there is a good chance, at least for me it was the case, there is a good chance that these things are not what you do in your internship. The good thing is that it only lasts 6 months. And the better thing is that you make excellent relationships during this time. My internship journey began with hopelessness, I must confess. And after applying to tens of hundreds of companies, I got my first internship in cloud sales in Amsterdam. I did a second one in Paris in cybersecurity, but this IT/data theme has been consistent throughout my internships. This is your last chance to make yet another change if you got your hypothesis wrong. After you've done your research and browsed all the sorts of possible jobs in this industry, if you're convinced that this is not for you, you have a couple of months before you pick the right specialization and do your M2 year in that specialization. So at EDHEC, you have consulting, you have marketing, you have finance, and lately a couple of data masters in the M2 year for the specialization. The final year is less erratic because you've made your decision, you've chosen a specialization. It's quite coherent relative to the first year where you were doing a lot of different things. And the school and the entire system helps you to bag your first permanent job, CDI. It's easier when you're super clear on two things: the value you bring to the table and what it is you enjoy doing. If you're clear in these two fields, the career center can help you find a job. And they do a good job doing it. Now, the company that I work at, for example, will pay me 2,000 to 5,000 euros if I suggest you to come work in my company and you make it through the interview process. So that's a lot of incentive for someone like me to take the time to coach you in the business that my company is involved in and the culture in my company. That's what you need to succeed in the interview part of the things, and this is one of those intangible benefits you get getting out of EDHEC. Everyone that studied with me has a fancy job in a fancy company, and if I wish to make a change, I have a couple of friends to reach out to. Since you have not yet started this journey, I would suggest that you spend a lot of time with your peers expressing to them what it is that you're good at, what it is that you like to do, because they will place you in their mind and they'll give you a random call one fine day telling you about an opportunity in their company. This is in fact how I got my internship at Atos. A friend of mine was working at the HR department in Atos. I met her in the first year of school. She called me and spoke to me about an opportunity. I was excited and it happened. That internship, I ended up making 1,500 euros a month in salary after paying taxes. And a good friend of mine had me over in his house for 3 months, so I was not paying rent. I'm really grateful for that generosity. So I was able to save up a lot of money. During my entire internship year, I saved up a total of 5,000 euros that I put entirely into my debt. And this is coming from someone who went to work in Amsterdam, where the minimum wages is much lower in internship time. If I stuck in France and did both my internships in France, I would have made definitely more money. So just like I've benefited from this, I've helped a couple of buddies get internships and even a full-term contract through just recommending them to come work in my company. And there were a couple of points when my first employer reached out to me and asked me if I could find someone who would do what I do, but in another contract, because it's a consulting firm. Actually, there's a lot of benefits working as an external consultant. I'm happy to make a video on how starting my career as an external consultant has helped me get clarity in my career. Let's look at the comments from the previous video, going from the bottom up. This is the best French MIM. Oh, thank you. Hey Josh, I'm going to join EDHEC's MIM Nice campus in August 22. Can you make a video about things to do when you arrived in France, and also one regarding the school system, lectures, breaks, assignments, exams for the MIM courses? Well, the structure is clarified in this video. Every week you will have assignments at EDHEC. You need to do it. You'll be working in groups throughout, and this is such a valuable experience because there are people who are different from you. There are people who are not punctual. There are people who are complaining that you're not punctual. You will also have sufficient amount of time to do it. It's not like you finish your class at 10 p.m. and you have to submit the assignment by 9 a.m. the next day. You will have the time. Well, I think the things to do when you arrive in France, I need to really make a video about that because there's so much paperwork, and there are a couple of things that I did not do which would have been beneficial tax-wise today. But yeah, I should make a video about, definitely will make a video about that. Keep that in mind, Arshdeep. Then there's a love. Thank you. Thanks again for these tips. They are so timely and a wake-up call. Such wisdom. Okay, can't wait for upcoming videos. This is the most honest video. Damn, this feels, I've already felt this, but it's so nice to hear these positive. Does EDHEC brand really give us an advantage during the job hunt? Definitely, big time. When I was at Atos, I felt this for the first time. When I told them that I studied at EDHEC, they just looked at me different, you know? It's like, oh, okay, so that school accepted you? EDHEC is popular in France. It keeps coming up in the media all the time. Most companies know about EDHEC, so if you cleared out the EDHEC clearance, means that you do have some level of intellect. So it definitely works in your favor. But to start from scratch and putting yourself out there in the right place takes effort. Also, I was curious to know about if the locals' perceptions of you were different based on your first name. Haven't thought about it. Maybe I benefited from the fact that my name was Joshua. I haven't really given that thought. But yeah, there was a period where I felt that I'm not the best profile. But you know, when you're hitting a couple of hard walls, you don't know why it is that you're hitting these hard walls. When you make these applications and they don't work out, and for some other people, it seems to be a little more effortless. There are a couple of things that you can do to work in your favor. But to answer directly to your question, I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe it was the case. I really don't know. So whether you're planning to move to France for your MIM or you're not sure if France or the MIM is the right thing for you, then definitely subscribe, because I'm going to make a bunch of videos in this series. Anything specific you want me to talk in this limited series, drop me a comment and I'll feature that in my next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week and keep learning.